Steve Wino, Associated Press. Gary, you just mentioned the cap at $88 million. I guess it's a little bit higher than the projected estimate.
Yes.
What does that mean about kind of the revenue this year, and how nice is it to see the cap finally take that leap?
It's great to see. I know the general managers and the teams are excited to have more flexibility, and it means that the revenues are as robust as we've been telling you all along.
Pierre, second row on the right.
Gary, any update on where a potential, this doesn't work, expansion process might emerge at some point here in terms of a timeline, or still?
What kind of process?
Expansion.
Oh, there's nothing new to update in that regard. We continue to deal with expressions of interest. We're not going to, at least at this point, unveil a formal expansion process. And we are gratified by the fact that at least, half a dozen places continue to express an interest in us.
Back
Want to add anything to that?
No.
No? Good. Well, I'm now concerned that the 85-65.
Don't worry, I'll correct you.
Thank you. I count on that, actually. Yes?
Go back to the left.
Gary, Richard Labbé with La Presse in Montreal. Getting back to the Four Nations right here.
Yes, there you are.
Could you explain the choice between two cities, Boston and then why Montreal?
Go ahead.
Just two iconic cities, and we thought it was important to have some exposure in Canada, and a venue in Canada as well as a venue in the United States. Obviously, we have 32 franchises, so we could have put it anywhere, but those are two that kind of rose to the top, and we worked with both of the clubs. They're both very cooperative, both very excited about hosting, so we're looking forward to being there.
Stay over there, Greg Wyshynski.
Hello.
Hi.
Also on Four Nations, what was the thinking in the format to not have, say, like semifinals or a consolation match?
I think part of it is we're doing this tournament in lieu of the All-Star game. It's still an extended period of time. We didn't want to make it too extended, and so we figured pure round robin with a final. That was the thinking.
Front row on the right, Kevin.
Gary and Bill, again with the Four Nations, obviously Czechia is the world champion, and Germany's got a pretty good player playing for the Stanley Cup. Any regrets that you couldn't extend it to 6? Like, I know it was a short timeline there.
There are two issues. One is, as Bill just mentioned, how long a break we were prepared to take for a tournament which is in season. And secondly, we wanted to, for this tournament, as we get ready for the Olympics and the World Cup, we wanted this to be all NHL players. And these four countries fit the bill better than any of the others. Yeah.
Back on your left.
I know this is semi-team to team, but where are things right now as a league when you look at kind of the regional sports network setup? Because that's been a pretty wild space right now.
We're in a period of transition, but what's interesting is I can't predict whether or not Diamond, which has the Bally's Regionals, will emerge from bankruptcy, but we are certainly aware of all the alternatives, and we've seen some clubs, most notably Vegas and Arizona, now Utah, going over the air and doing some digital streaming. So, we will evolve with the times, and our main focus is making sure the games are going to be available to our fans.
The length of the process has really given the clubs an opportunity to understand what their alternatives are. So that's the good part of this.
Yeah, and to add to that, it's dragged on a whole lot longer than anybody had hoped, and certainly a whole lot longer than we wanted.
Second row on the aisle, Chris.
For either Gary or Bill, now that we've moved beyond the sort of COVID debts with the cap and we're seeing a big jump, where do you anticipate future years will go? Do you think this will become the norm again?
I predict it will continue to go up. And, obviously with the number of years we had with flat or modest increases was necessary to recapture how much was overpaid and how much the escrow built up during COVID, but I believe we're gonna continue to see robust growth in the cap.
Gary, Steve Simmons, Toronto Sun.
All the way in the back on the left.
Yes, I see you. I know. You look familiar.
didn't see him.
Stand up. No, it's okay.
It's entirely possible that a Russian player will win the Hart Trophy this year. It's entirely possible that a Russian player will win the Conn Smythe Trophy this year. What do you say to Russian players in your league that they're not included in this upcoming tournament?
There's only so much we can do under the existing circumstances as we see them, and certainly whether it's Four Nations or World Cup, people are going to have opinions as to things we could have done differently, but I think it's fair to say that a lot of time and effort with the Players Association making these decisions jointly has led us to what we think is the best place for us to be right now.
Third row on the right.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Tim Reynolds with the AP here in
Yes.
Miami. The ongoing dialogue about cut-resistant materials, is there any update on those discussions?
Bill?
No update other than to say that, you know, obviously the events of this year, you know, opened everybody's eyes and brought a much bigger focus on it. We have upcoming, we have protective equipment meetings that we do jointly with the Players Association, and cut-resistant materials has been on our agenda for a long time. It's something the Players Association has been helpful in advocating for with the players. You know, what becomes mandatory and what doesn't is a different issue, and that's, you know, what we'll continue to work on and talk through.
Questions, hands up. Josh,
Okay,
up.
just since Marty's coming, I'm just wondering how the relationship between the league and the Players Association has changed.
Well, I'm not sure that I want to categorize what it was, but I'll tell you what it is. And it's very open, candid, good dialogue. I think we have a good relationship that may be the best it's been in the history of labor relations between the NHL and the NHL Players Association. We're collaborating on lots of important initiatives, and I think that bodes well for the future growth of the game and of the league.
Stay here, George.
Yeah, right down here, George Richards, Florida Hockey Now. You guys have been here now for an All-Star game and 2 Stanley Cup Finals here in South Florida. The Panthers have said they've spoken with the Miami Marlins about a possibility of that ballpark hosting something. Have you guys talked to them? Is it ruled out? What are your thoughts on Marlins Park?
I haven't been there, but I understand it's very nice. And it also has a roof and is air conditioned. I'm not going to break any news today, but we are mindful of the fact that at some point it would be good for the Panthers to be in an outdoor game. And so we continue to explore options. You know, we did something a little different this past year, as I indicated, by doing 2 games in 24 hours in the same venue. We can only speculate what the future might hold in that regard.
Front row on your right.
Colby Guide, Palm Beach Post.
Yes.
You guys have a New Jersey deal coming up with Fanatics. I just wondered, with everything that's going to be announced soon, I mean, what's the optimism with that deal and what comes with it?
Well, Fanatics has been a great partner of ours for maybe going on 2 decades. The actual game-worn jerseys are going to be manufactured by the same place that manufactured them for Adidas. They're the best in the world at it. And our teams and players on our teams have all had an opportunity to sample what the jerseys are and how they're coming out, and everybody has been more than pleased.
Here.
For Gary or Bill, I was curious if the league has counseled or advised the teams that have a player in the London case charged from the World Junior 2018 about what to do with their qualifying rights ahead of June 30th.
So I guess I'll answer that. I've gotten a couple inquiries from clubs As of right now, the status quo would be that whatever rights the CBA set forth for clubs and players will adhere. We've talked generally with the Players Association about the possibility of revisiting that on some basis, but have no commitment with regard to that. So it's quite possible that clubs will have the decision of qualifying or not as of the end of this month.
So it's up to the clubs.
Yeah.
Front row center.
Roy Bellamy, Meadowlark Media. Given everything that happened with the Pride jerseys last year, what is the league status on inclusion, whether it be race, sexual preference, or gender? Is any progress being made?
Well, we think so. We've made tremendous strides and efforts this year. All 32 of our clubs had a Pride night, and I think that our record is clear in terms of our desire to be welcoming and inclusive, no matter who you are, no matter what you believe, and no matter what your orientation is.